Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? Thanks for sticking with us on a day 4. Hopefully staying hydrated. Oh, all right. So the uncomfortable truth is any playbook that was written before 2023 is now a historical artifact. AI is rewriting the rules in real time. A lot of brands and leaders are reacting to that change, and we have a few here that are leading. So from being ahead of the game with how LLMs are perceiving and recommending brand, to showing up in one of the biggest advertising moments of the year at the Super Bowl with generative AI TVC, to understanding and building synthetic audiences and customer personas, and having the aspiration to build the industry's most AI native content studio. It's going to be an amazing conversation today. So I'm Corey O'Brien, Chief Solutions Officer for Oliver. We are part of the Brand Tech Group, world's leading generative AI marketing company. At Oliver, we're the in-housing experts, so we help brands bring AI inside, elevate creativity, go faster, capture the benefits of AI to reinvest back in brand growth. But today's about the 3 of you, 3 amazing leaders. I'm honored to call clients of the group. So I think, why don't we start with the 2-minute you, a little bit about the brand in case folks in the audience aren't as familiar, and maybe just one thing that inspired you from the last 4 days. So Gabie, you want to kick us off?
Oh, goody first. Oh, that was loud. Sorry. I am in an industry that is pretty legacy. So NetApp is a data storage company. The boxes and the data centers, that's us. But we're trying to move beyond the box and talk about data infrastructure. So that's why I joined, and that's what's exciting about my job. That's what I am challenged with every single day in terms of how to tell the story, how to draw the story, how do you think about data, how do you not think about data. That's what makes AI so exciting, because I'm not an AI company, but I definitely power AI. What gets me excited, is that was the last one? What gets me excited is that honestly, I get to rewrite the rules. When you're in tech, we were just talking about this. When you're in tech, no matter what you came in with, that tech doesn't exist anymore. It's all new tech. So I get to always look forward, and I get to redefine that. And that's kind of the kind of marketer I like to be. So I'm in an industry that likes to do that. That's a win for me.
What about you, Nina?
Hi, everyone. I'm from Japan Airlines, and I'm not sure how many of you know that our company was founded by Japanese government. And 10 years ago, it just turned to a public company. So I think many of you probably struggle, if you work for a legacy company, enterprise size, that's me. And, I'm really excited with this opportunity AI offers, because we have so many legacy platform, but it's not only the system, it's actually everybody's mindset, and then also the operation and processes. And then this is where, I look at this opportunity as something we can overhaul whole thing. So, that's really something I'm really excited about. And then this week, I met so many people, I could confirm a lot of assumptions that I had. So I had a lot of hypotheses, or maybe this is the way I'm going. But talking to many marketers, around the same, space, they all confirmed, oh, this is the right way to go. Or maybe this is, more option that I should look into. So this opportunity has given me a lot of, thinking, and that's what I really appreciate this event.
Hi, I'm Jim Lesser. I'm the Chief Brand Officer at ServiceNow. And we have a really sophisticated brand tracker, which is whenever I do a panel, I say, has anyone ever heard of ServiceNow? All right, we're making progress. We're up to 64%. When I came to ServiceNow about 5 years ago, the business was absolutely screaming and doing incredibly well. And our CEO said, I want you to paint a brand masterpiece. We're trying. We're partway there, about 62% it looks like. And we built a campaign with Idris Elba that's a whole system of kind of how to think about a buyer journey and how to think about brand content, very much stolen from consumer marketing and brought it to B2B. And so we're trying to be really innovative in the B2B space. And what am I optimistic about? I'm optimistic about new ideas. I love hearing new ideas. I heard one 5 minutes ago that I got excited about. But I've been coming to Cannes because I started my career as a creative. I've been coming to Cannes for a long time. And I remember when it was only creatives here, believe it or not, that was a thing. And I think we need to get back to spending more time as an industry talking about ideas and not just tools and optimizations.
I like that. So what I was thinking, I mean, today's conversation, we're trying to take a unique angle, which is the vision, the bravery, what it takes to make a big bet and go first, and unpack that a little bit. So I was going to ask one question to each of you and then drill down. So Jim, I'm going to come to you. Obviously a legend in advertising. We love the story.
I'm hearing you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Sorry.
Okay, that's helpful. I'm going to come to you first. A legend in advertising, the story as it was, you started as an assistant, a creative, president, you go brand side. Tell us about the time that you decided to make a big bet. Who might have been skeptical? What did it take to get through the organization? Over to you.
Okay, so a big bet, when I came from advertising over, I spent 20 years at one of the big global agencies, and I was servicing ServiceNow as my client, and then got invited to come in. I think the biggest bet we made was not to build a team full of B2B tech experts. The biggest bet right out the gate was I brought in kind of a team of Avengers, some of whom are in the room, who came from very diverse backgrounds, and that enabled us, I think, to think differently about the whole process. I learned quickly that B2B has a playbook, tech has a playbook. It starts with features. It starts with product marketing. It gets built up from there. You have 1 million approvals, very little breakthrough, in my opinion, on the downside. So I think that was our biggest bet right out of the gate, was to build a team of people who looked at it from kind of the macro lens in rather than the inside lens out. And I think that's helped us to kind of break through as a brand. In the last 3 years, we've gone from less than 2% unaided awareness to over 22% unaided awareness with C-suite and BDMs. So we're excited about that. So that's probably the biggest bet.
Nice. And Mina, over to you. So obviously you're talking about a business that had quite, legacy business, like you mentioned, 10 years ago was owned by the government. But we know that you were 2 years ahead as far as understanding your share model in the market. So talk to us about, maybe explain what share model is, how that's informed, that data coming out of that has informed your strategy about how you concept and how you produce content.
Share model is a platform that we can measure how our brand is perceived by different type of LLMs. It really shows the brand metrics and then also where all those data is cited from. So it really helps us to understand what kind of content gap that we have, from like what we are trying to be seeing, as a brand, versus what each LLMs actually show, like how it perceives our brand as. And then every LLM has a different algorithm, right? And then data feed as well. So they, every channel, like we have to think about different type of content feed. And then also this really helps us to think about working closely with the SEO team, because content strategy is something that we've been talking a lot about, to have just one consistent strategy that we can use like all different channels, like omni-channels, but with a globally produced content distributed, more efficient way. So this is where we are at. We are actually trying to define what are the content gaps are, and what are the channels we have to be present. And the share model has been really great insights it provides.
Oh, thank you. This was I'm particularly excited about for anyone who watched the Super Bowl this year. If you saw these amazingly cute lemmings running dangerously toward a cliff. What did this take, Gabie? What was the idea? Where did this inspiration come from to show up, dive into not just brand advertising, but on the industries and the advertising moment's biggest stage?
Yeah, before I talk about the ad, we as part of brand, we felt that we were lacking a distinct storytelling mechanism. And especially when you're in tech, I mean, I saw you all glaze over when I said I'm in data infrastructure, and you're like, I get it. So we lacked that kind of aspect of, well, how do we tell this story in a really unique way? That's through our customers. Our customers are far more exciting sometimes than we are. And one of our customers was the NFL. And we went back to the NFL, the National Football League, for those of you in Europe, and said, how do we do this better? How do we sponsor, not just sponsor, but how do we talk about what you guys do when you turn a stadium into a data center on game day? How do we talk about how do we use the Super Bowl in terms of data flow? That kind of stuff really made it exciting. So when it came to the moment of Super Bowl, we were like, okay, we can't just always talk about data. How do we make this more fun? Because nobody is, again, still going to pay attention to the fact that last year, Levi's Stadium, who also the 49ers also a sponsor, they're not going to pay attention to the fact that this is so cool. How do we make that even more fun? And literally, I think three weeks before the Super Bowl, we came to Oliver and we were like, we need a Super Bowl ad. And they're like,
3 weeks.
yeah, sure. And I said, I have no money. I put it everywhere else. Tell me what we can do. And we had this crazy concept of telling a story of like running towards a cliff, what data did. And we turned it into this ad in less than 3 weeks. We call it the lemmings. Other places call it the rodents. You call it whatever you want, I don't care. But it was really about how do you embrace change? And it was actually between the NFL, the 49ers in Levi's Stadium, and this ad gave us the biggest bounce of people actually understanding who we were and calling us and saying, I want to talk to you about data. I want to talk to you about data infrastructure. We don't get those kind of moments a lot. So that was a moment where everything kind of coalesced and said, this is how we tell a data infrastructure story. This is how we use AI. But most importantly, this is how we use our brand and the brand vehicles available to us to do that differently.
That's a great one.
What?
Oh, just using that as a platform to produce it.
Yeah.
All right, shifting gears a little bit. So we're trying to keep it, what it took to go first. I want to shift to when you decide to do it yourself, when you decide to send it out, and when you decide to partner. So kind of the make, buy, or partner. Jim, you want to kick us off, whether it's that example or other?
Sure. So the question is when to do it ourselves or when to use a partner or partner.
Yeah, make a change this big isn't easy. So when do you go it alone? When do you find partners?
So kind of continuation of the story of what we were trying to build from a few years ago. The other thing that was pretty clear to me was that we didn't have a philosophy about the portfolio of agency partners and what things we needed and wanted to do in-house, where the intellectual capital was that people had to be headcount inside the organization versus where we could partner with best-in-class partners, which could bring something new to the table. So kind of working through that, we've taken an approach where we have different partners for different tasks, from our high-level advertising to our content creation. And this year, we went out with a goal specifically to the market to look for the team that could help us build the most AI-enabled studio in the world. And so the reason we set a really ambitious brief is obviously we're an AI company. We sell AI. We wanted to make sure that from a content creation standpoint, we were doing it in the most, not just efficient, but smartest way possible. And so the brief was really clear to everyone on the Quaset here, was bring us a solution that we can stand up really quickly that is the most AI-enabled studio in the world. And that is a combination of the timing and your skill set. So we landed on this company called Oliver. Yeah. And that's what we're in the process of now building together, which we think is going to be a massive savings, but also a massive improvement in terms of our ability to control the content. We have 1,500 marketers, and there's a lot of content that gets created across the organization. So being able to control that better, we think is gonna give us a big upside.
Quick follow-up question. So, because I think what's inspired me or made me optimistic over the last 4 days is the conversation starts with AI about being more efficient and going faster. And now I hear it evolving to actually raise the creative bar and actually make work more effective. And so that's something that you just hit on. Is that it's almost like the savings and the speed are going to be table stakes as we move forward. Smart people with the right tools and the right mindset doing great work faster. But at what point does that bar focus and shift on doing work that's better?
Well, I'll say this on the optimistic side is I think the conversation here over the past, say, 5 to 10 years, which has drifted further and further into efficiency and process, I think everyone is coming to the same conclusion right now, which is AI is going to raise the bar for all content across the board, efficiency, speed, on brand. So then the real moat, if you will, the real gap between you and your competitor will be how great is the content? How strong is your brand story? How well do you execute? And my theory, very biased, is that chief brand officers are going to be more valuable than ever. And what right now is a quaset full of mostly CMOs with a few chief brand officers, I think you're going to see that shift in the age of AI, because I think brand is going to become a more powerful, unfair advantage for the enterprise.
Interesting, yeah, how you cut through in this sea of sameness as content more and more starts to maybe look and sound the same. Mina, over to you. When have you decided to do it in-house, or when did you decide to partner?
We've been thinking through a lot. Like, we're not moving fast, especially since like our, like stakeholders are leadership team who don't really understand marketing space to begin with, and then also what brand is all about. So it's like something more, we try to build like small pilot cases where we can actually contain with the marketing space. And that's where we can actually bring out like some, small wins, and then we can actually show the results. Because when we are thinking about marketing operations migrated to post AI, there are a lot of things to think about, like what's the market should look like, who are the partners to work with, and then also there are fundamental thinking like how the process should look like, because we are not actually building AI agent based on the current process, and we need to actually tell agent like AIs to optimize the process as well, because the current process doesn't mean actually the best way that maybe we're not aware of. And then also another thing is like, are we like building things from scratch? There's so many like powerful, tools out there, but then, okay, who's going to build it? People with the domain knowledge are the ones who's going to actually drive that direction, but they're too busy to, like run the campaigns and all this. So I'm trying to take like, like a best, the tactics that I've been always deploying. 70% work we are actually dedicating to the current campaigns, but 30% we try to make more space so that team can really have a think and like oh, are we doing the right way? Can we be more efficient? So we are reviewing the more processes, and then also doing some researches like what's actually MarTech solutions out there. Like we started to really have that discussion that kicked off from like last fall, and then by now like landscape completely changed. So I just attended Salesforce conference last month, and then they provided all the like out of box marketing AI agents for every tasks you can imagine. And so, things like this, right? Like I just, wanted to make sure MarTech is going to be adaptable for any changes that we see in the future. And I think my guts right now tells me, it's all about open sources. And, like we try to prepare for that big jump by doing small changes, like maybe like, like moving to headless, like web design, or centralize all the assets, and like all those little things that we can do will prepare for like a big jump, like when we have a really endorsement from like a leadership team.
Yeah, I hear you saying preparation and opportunity, but making sure the right tech stack, not just for today, but for the things that you're anticipating. Reminds me a lot of Unleashed Genius. Okay, so Gabie, in transparency, Gabie and Jim just realized in the green room that they both share a partnership with Aston Martin. So kind of funny. Glad we got you guys connected today. But in the
All in the
spirit of
family.
that, in the spirit of that, whether it's sponsorships, whether it's partners like the amazing partnership that we have, or your partnerships with your other agencies, when again do you build a capability internally? When have you had success buying it, and when have you had success partnering for it?
I talked about this yesterday, and I used kind of three terms. AI is giving us an opportunity to either ride, so you're riding kind of along with everybody else, you're learning, you're riding that wave, you're experimenting together, and that's really valuable in some instances. If you're blind to it, you're going to die, obviously, and none of us want to do that. Or you can guide it, so you can ride, guide, or die. I've been operating under the principle that I want to guide. And so when I say I want to guide, that means I'm looking for agencies who are going to push. I'm looking for my people to push. And I'm looking to say, how far ahead can I be, so that then I can go create more relationships with other peers or partner customers or partner companies to say, I'm experiencing this, or you experiencing this, which means we can all ride more effectively together. I think that means that I'm changing the dynamic of how I use agencies. I'm no longer looking for project management. I'm no longer looking for them to carry all the weight. I'm also not looking for that from my employees. I'm looking for equal partnership in terms of how do I define, how do I drive, how do I own and experiment together. Inside, we call that integrate, right? So we're looking for more integration. We're not just looking for collaboration, which is kind of, creating and then jamming it together at the end. For those of you who collaborate, you know how painful that can be. That feels old legacy to me. But that integration sparks those conversations. And if your agency and your people are doing that together, I think that's been really valuable for us. Percentage-wise, just so you understand what that means. I've reduced all my agency spend really, really dramatically, but for what I've kept, I've made those agencies, like Oliver, really work for it in terms of both speed and time. But equally so, I've reduced or added budget so that the people on my team, if they need to go and spend and ideate together with the agency, they're able to do that. So it becomes maybe more of a 60-40 split, not quite a 70-30. So, more 40 on the agency, 70 internal. But when we have a really great idea, we flip it back and we say, we'd like to go put more dollars here because we know it's going to work. So really agile, really focusing in on that. How are we both guiding together? How do we deliver together? How do we create agility together? And so that's kind of how we're looking at it.
Amazing. I like that.
You're experiencing that every day. So
Yes, we are. But that's what makes partnership. I think that level of transparency and thinking differently. All right, I want to shift gears because, Jim, I want to come back to you because I think one of the things I admire a lot about ServiceNow, getting to know you and your team, is that it truly is a brand-led organization. So tell everybody what that means, but also you say that marketing should be as innovative as the product itself. So how does that translate to companies that might not describe themselves as brand-led?
So on the marketing side, this is something that, you come into the world of technology and you hear, we're an innovative product, and then we're going to go and explain it to you with a battle card and a sell sheet and a bunch of proof points. It's the least innovative way you could possibly tell someone you're being innovative. So, the thing that I kind of grew up as a creative in the industry, so my feeling has always been, how do you do it in a way that actually is it rather than says it? Like, if you want to tell someone you're funny, don't tell them you're funny, tell them a joke, right? If you want to tell someone you're fashionable, don't tell them you're fashionable, be fashionable. So if you want to tell someone you're innovative, be innovative. So the things we've tried to do is to bring creative thinking into the way we approach all of our communication. And the brand-led piece of it is, how do we get our story out there into the world? So as just one example, I'm a rabid consumer of media myself. And so early on, many years ago, 5 years ago, I heard this up-and-coming duo who had this cool show called Acquired. Folks in the States might know it if you're following Acquired. Anybody listen to Acquired? Oh, man. Get on board. Acquired is the most popular business show on podcast. And it's these two super smart, super cool guys who basically give you a 4-hour book report on a company and how that company, like LVMH, got to be where it is today. It's so great. So early on, hear this, and I'm like, wow, these guys are amazing. I don't know what their audience is, how big it is. I don't care. Let's figure out a way to work with them. And so we went to them and said, what if you told our company's story as part of a commercial series? And so we bought a season where their commercials were basically them telling our company story embedded in the company stories. So, we did this for a period of time, and the show kept getting bigger, we were watching the audience climb. We're like, wow, this is a pretty good bet we made. And then all of a sudden, it's on the front page of the Wall Street Journal with a headline that says, what the smartest people in business are listening to. And it just hockey sticked up, and we were already their ground floor partners. So it's one small example, but just a place where we made a bet on something based on taste, based on gut, and not based on the data and the numbers, because they didn't have the audience, they didn't have the C-suite, but now they do.
And it's clearly paying off, which has been fun to see. Jim brings this up. The last time that I saw Jim was at their knowledge conference in Las Vegas, and he was on stage talking to Rick Rubin about taste. And I learned something, and it was a day of inspiration for me. So
that guy's got taste.
All right, Gabie, coming back to you. There's a lot of startups that are here today and throughout the week, and that are building, their own brands. You didn't just rebrand NetApp; you created a new category. Intelligent data infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So from the context of somebody that's building a business or maybe a category, what was that like? Why not just rebrand?
It's really hard. I started with that. Technology is something that has such a legacy, right? I think if you're just coming into a space, be it technology, be it whatever, you have to understand the legacy, but you don't have to carry it with you. And I think that's the beauty of what AI can bring, right? AI is not going to win in your company or in your approach if you bring every process and everything legacy with you, because it's net new. So what we were looking at was, we're a legacy data storage company. Again, I saw your eyes glaze over. It's okay. But how do we talk about that differently in the age of AI? Well, we're about more than data storage, right? We're about all of the infrastructure. We do it very uniquely. We can do it anywhere in the cloud. We can do it on-prem in your data center. We can do all those things. How do we talk about that? That's data infrastructure. Data infrastructure is not a road. It's not a Caterpillar moving gravel. It's not the airlines and the TSA. It is data. It is infrastructure for your data. 3 years ago, when we started talking about that, I literally had somebody from Gartner come up to me and say, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Now, bless him, he now had to eat crow and admit that was actually kind of the smartest thing you ever said. I still don't get it, but I'm willing to get it. When you're building a category, you have to accept the haters, and you have to be okay with it. And when you're the marketer and owning the brand, you are going to be the chief hate person on the planet. And you have to wear the armor, and you just say, you know what, screw it, I'm in it, we're going to do it. Because, as you just talked about, right, you can see things that other people can't. So trust your gut, own it, but be about what the future is. Be about that story. Be about that continuity, because otherwise, there ain't anybody else who's going to come help you. So if you can own it, the rest of the company will come with you. And I promise you, they'll own your vision as well.
I love that. Be about it, don't talk about it. That's what I heard. All right, we're almost out of time. I want just a rapid fire question for each of us, which is how actually make this change stick. So from a change management standpoint, or a motivating your teams through uncertainty standpoint, bringing them together for alignment, take any angle of that, just 15 seconds. Nina, why don't you start us off?
That one is a really difficult one because it depends on who you're talking to. But for my team, I always say, I'll learn what you know, and then think differently, because it's really difficult to change your mindset, right? Oh, this is a new way of working, but this has been working this way. So they resist the change because they know it's going to be successful, right? But that's going to change fast, and we already seen the changes, right? The organic traffic is actually going down, and we have to move fast. So that's something I really tell my team all the time. But another one is really listen to customers, because try to understand what customers are asking, and then provide that content will eventually build your like presence in AI world stronger. And it's really obvious now. So, that's something that we are really trying to focus.
Nice.
I think it starts with, as human beings, we don't love change, right? It's just not a natural place to be. Scary things lurk around corners. So in my experience, teams can change more rapidly and more effectively if you do two things. One, bring them into the process and check in constantly on how they're doing with it. And second, the clearer you can paint the picture of the vision of the better future, the clearer and tighter that is, the more willing they are to go with you to that place.
Well, I see us flashing red here, but let's give these guys a round of applause. And thank you all for coming as well.